The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from 200 star systems. Lights floated above their heads like small suns, and the walls showed images of distant galaxies. This was the center of power in the known universe. Every important decision was made here. Admiral Kolveth stood at the main platform. He was a Vorian, a species known for their tall bodies and gray skin. His 4 eyes looked at the gathered representatives with pride. He had served the Council for 300 years. He believed he knew everything about the galaxy. "We have finished our study of System 7749, Kolveth announced. His voice filled the massive room. The planet called Earth. A hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed a blue and green world, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Many representatives leaned forward to look. Earth was a subject of curiosity for centuries. The humans have been watched for over 500 years, Kolveth continued. In all that time, they have done nothing. They received our signals. They detected our probes. Yet they never responded. Not once. A Melian representative raised his thin arm. The Melians were a peaceful species with blue skin and large black eyes. Perhaps they simply wished to be left alone, Admiral. That is not a crime. Kolveth made a sound that might have been a laugh. They do not wish anything. They cannot wish anything. Our analysis is clear. The humans are primitive. They fight among themselves. They destroy their own planet. They have no unified government, no fleet, no weapons of significance. He waved his hand and the hologram changed. It showed human cities, human vehicles, human technology. To the representatives of the Galactic Council, it all looked ancient, simple, weak. They are children playing with stones, Kolveth said. Nothing more. In the corner of the Great Hall, a small figure watched in silence. Her name was Yuna, and she was human. She was the only human representative in the entire galaxy. Stationed on the neutral world of Thessar, the Council allowed her presence as a formality. They never actually listened to her. Yuna was not tall. She was not impressive by galactic standards. She had dark hair, cut short, and calm brown eyes that revealed nothing. She wore simple clothes, not the elaborate robes of other diplomats. Many council members forgot she existed, but Yuna remembered everything. She listened as Kolveth continued his speech. He talked about Earth's resources, the water, the metals, the fertile land. His voice grew excited as he described what the Council could take. Earth has ignored us for 500 years, Kolveth said. They have proven they are not worthy of contact. I propose we authorize a harvesting mission. The resources of Earth would benefit the entire Council. Yuna felt cold inside, but her face showed nothing. She had warned them many times. They never listened. A Drekkan representative spoke next. The Drekkans were warriors, covered in scales and natural armor. What of the humans themselves? There are billions of them. They will be relocated, Kolveth said smoothly. Or they will be dealt with. It makes no difference. They cannot stop us. Admiral. Yuna's voice was quiet, but it cut through the hall like a blade. Every eye turned to her. Many looked surprised, as if they had forgotten she could speak. Kolveth's 4 eyes narrowed. The human representative wishes to speak. How amusing. Yuna walked forward slowly. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. She stopped at the center of the hall, right beneath the hologram of Earth. I have been here for 20 years, she said. Her voice was steady. In that time, I have watched this council make many decisions. Some were wise. Some were foolish. But this decision would be the worst mistake in your history. Laughter rippled through the hall. Kolveth smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp. You threaten us, little human? With what? Your primitive rockets? Your nuclear weapons that you use on each other? Yuna did not smile. She did not frown. Her face was perfectly calm. I am not threatening you, Admiral. I am warning you. There is a difference. And what is your warning? Kolveth asked, his tone mocking. Yuna looked around the hall slowly. She met the eyes of every representative who would look at her. Most turned away. Earth's silence is not weakness, she said. It is patience. We have been watching you, just as you have been watching us. We have seen your wars, your conquests, your cruelty to species you consider inferior. She paused. The hall was completely silent now. We stayed quiet because we were not ready. Because we wanted to understand you first. Because we hoped you might be better than you appeared. Her voice hardened slightly. You are not. Kolveth stepped forward, his tall form towering over her. You expect us to believe that your primitive world is somehow a threat? Your people cannot even agree on simple matters. You fight over resources. You poison your own air and water. You are nothing. Yuna looked up at him. She was small. She was alone. But she was not afraid. You see what we want you to see, Admiral. You understand what we allow you to understand. Earth has received your signals. We decoded them in days. Your probes? We found them all. We took them apart. We learned everything they could teach us. She took a step closer to Kolveth. Her voice dropped low. We stayed silent because silence was our greatest weapon. You looked at our world and saw primitives fighting over scraps. You never thought to ask why beings capable of such destruction had not destroyed themselves completely. For a moment, something flickered in Kolveth's eyes. It might have been doubt. But then it was gone. Enough, he said, turning away from her. The human speaks nonsense to save her planet. It is understandable. But the Council will not be swayed by desperate lies. He raised his hand to call for a vote. This will be your only warning, Yuna said. Her voice carried across the hall even though she did not shout. If you send ships to Earth with hostile intent, you will not receive a second chance. You will not receive mercy. You will not receive anything but our full and complete response. Kolveth did not even look at her. The vote is called. All in favor of authorizing the harvesting fleet? Lights appeared across the hall. Green for yes, red for no. The green lights outnumbered the red by a vast margin. The motion passes, Kolveth announced. The fleet will depart within the cycle. Earth's resources will belong to the Galactic Council. Yuna stood alone in the center of the hall. The hologram of Earth still floated above her head. You were warned, she said softly. Remember that. Then she turned and walked out of the hall. No one tried to stop her. No one even watched her go. She was just one small human. What could she possibly do? In her quarters, Yuna activated a device that no council scanner had ever detected. It was small enough to fit in her palm, but it could send a signal across the entire galaxy in seconds. She typed one word and sent it to Earth. The word was, now. Then she sat down and waited. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth had stayed silent for so long. And the lesson would be one they would never forget. The harvesting fleet gathered in the shadow of a dying star. 200 warships, each one massive enough to block out the light of a sun. They carried weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. They carried soldiers trained to conquer worlds without mercy. Fleet Commander Tarek stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He was a Vorian like Admiral Kolveth, but younger and more ambitious. This mission would make his career. The conquest of Earth would put his name in the history books forever. All ships report ready, Commander, his second officer announced. We can enter faster than light travel on your command. Tarek smiled. His sharp teeth gleamed in the bridge lights. Excellent. Set course for system 7,749. Earth. Across the fleet, engines powered up. The ships began to glow with energy. In moments, they would jump across the galaxy and claim a new world for the Council. But on a small station orbiting a distant moon, someone was watching. Commander Do-hyun sat in front of a wall of screens. He was human, born on Earth but stationed at Listening Post 7 for the past 5 years. His job was simple. Watch, listen, and report. Most days, nothing happened. Most days, the galaxy ignored the tiny human outposts scattered across neutral space. Today was different. That is a lot of ships, his partner said. Her name was Minji, and she was the best signal analyst Do-hyun had ever worked with. She pointed at her screen with a trembling finger. 200 warships, all heading toward Earth. Do-hyun's heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. He had trained for this moment. Every human in the listening posts had trained for this moment, even though they hoped it would never come. Time until they reached the solar system? He asked. Minji checked her calculations. 14 hours, maybe less if they push their engines. 14 hours, not much time, but it would have to be enough. Do-hyun activated the emergency channel. It was a frequency that officially did not exist. The Galactic Council had never detected it. They never would. This is Listening Post 7 to Earth Command, he said. His voice was steady despite his racing heart. Code Crimson. Repeat. Code Crimson. Hostile fleet of 200 warships approaching. Estimated arrival in 14 hours. The response came immediately. A woman's voice, calm and professional. Copy. Listening Post 7. Code Crimson confirmed. All stations are being notified. Maintain observation and report any changes. Understood, Do-hyun replied. Earth Command, there is one more thing. Go ahead. Do-hyun looked at Minji. She nodded. They both knew what needed to be done. We intercepted the Council's communication channel. We can send them a message. A final warning. Do we have authorization? There was a pause. Do-hyun could imagine the discussions happening on Earth. The debates. The arguments. Humans love to argue. But when the moment came, they always found a way to agree. Authorization granted, the voice said. Make sure they understand what they are doing. Give them every chance to turn back. Yes, Commander. Do-hyun ended the call and turned to Minji. Can you open a channel to the fleet's flagship? Minji's fingers flew across her controls. Done. You are broadcasting on their command frequency. Every ship in the fleet will hear you. Do-hyun took a deep breath. He had never spoken to an alien before. Most humans had not. They had kept to themselves, hidden in the shadows, watching and waiting. But now, the waiting was over. Attention, harvesting fleet, he said. This is Commander Do-hyun of Earth. You are approaching our solar system with hostile intent. This message is your final warning. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, Commander Tarek looked up in surprise. A human voice was coming through his speakers. A human had accessed their secure channel. That should have been impossible. What is this? Tarek demanded. Trace that signal. Find out where it is coming from. His officers scrambled to obey. But Do-hyun's voice continued. We know why you are coming. We know what your council decided. We also know that you believe Earth is weak. That we are primitives who cannot defend ourselves. Tarek laughed. The human thinks he can scare us with words. Continue on course. You are making a mistake, Do-hyun said. The greatest mistake any fleet has ever made. Turn back now, and no harm will come to you. Continue forward, and you will face consequences that you cannot imagine. Several officers on the bridge exchanged nervous glances. There was something in the human's voice. Not fear. Not desperation. Something else entirely. Confidence. But Tarek was not worried. He had 200 warships. He had weapons that could destroy continents. What could one backward planet do against such power? Human, he said, activating his own transmission. I am Commander Tarek of the Galactic Council Fleet. I have heard your warning, and I reject it. Your planet will be harvested. Your people will be removed. There is nothing you can do to stop this. Do-hyun's reply came instantly. Then I am sorry, Commander. Truly sorry. Because you seem like you might be a reasonable being, but you have made your choice, and now you must live with the consequences. Tarek smiled at his officers. The human is sorry for us. How touching. One more thing, Do-hyun said. In exactly 2 hours, you will receive a transmission from Earth, a gift, you might call it. Please pay attention to it. It might change your mind. The channel went silent. Tarek waved his hand dismissively. Ignore the humans babbling. Maintain course and speed. We will be at Earth in less than 14 hours. The fleet continued its journey. The ships cut through space like a blade through darkness. 200 instruments of death. Heading toward an unsuspecting world, or so they believed. 2 hours later, exactly as promised, every screen on every ship in the fleet lit up with a new transmission. Tarek was eating a meal when it happened. He looked up at the main screen and froze. It was a map. A perfect, detailed map of the entire galaxy. Every star system. Every inhabited world. Every trade route. Every military installation. Everything. And it was marked with red dots. Thousands of them. Red dots on Vorian worlds. Red dots on council stations. Red dots on places that were supposed to be secret. Places that no outsider should know about. "What is this?" Tarek whispered. The transmission included a voice. It was different from the human commander. This voice was older, heavier. The voice of someone who had seen many things and feared none of them. "This is Earth Command to the Harvesting Fleet. The map you are now viewing shows every populated world in the Galactic Council's territory. The red marks show targets that we can reach within 1 hour of giving the order." Tarek stood up so fast that his meal scattered across the floor. "That is impossible. They are lying. They must be lying." But his officers were checking the data. Their faces went pale. "Sir," one of them said, "the coordinates are accurate. All of them. Including our hidden military bases. Including the Admiral's personal estate." The voice from Earth continued. "You have ships that can crack planets open. So do we. You have weapons that can destroy cities. So do we. The difference is that you are sending 200 ships to attack one world. We have thousands of ships hidden across the galaxy, waiting for a single command." Tarek's hands were shaking. He gripped the edge of his console to steady himself. "You have 14 hours to turn around. If your fleet enters our solar system, we will consider it an act of war. And we will respond accordingly. Not just against your fleet, against everything you have ever built." The transmission ended. The map remained on every screen, glowing with those terrible red dots. Tarek stood in silence for a long moment. Then he activated his communication channel to Admiral Kolveth. "Admiral," he said, "we need to talk. The humans have sent us something." But Admiral Kolveth was not interested. He was old. He was proud. He had decided that humans were primitives, and he would not change his mind. "It is a trick," Kolveth declared. "A desperate lie from a desperate species. Continue your mission, Commander. That is an order." Tarek closed his eyes. He had sworn to obey the Council. He had sworn to follow orders. But he had also seen the map. He had seen those red dots. For the first time in his long career, Commander Tarek felt true fear. But orders were orders. "Yes, Admiral," he said quietly. "We will continue." The fleet flew on toward Earth. And on a distant station, Commander Do-hyun watched them come. "They are not turning back," Minji said softly. Do-hyun nodded. He had expected this, hoped against it, but expected it. "Then Earth will answer," he said. "May the universe have mercy on them. Because we will not." The harvesting fleet entered the solar system at the edge of Neptune's orbit. 200 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and hung in the darkness of space. Their sensors swept the area. Looking for threats, they found nothing. Commander Tarek stood on the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, watching the screens with growing confusion. Where are their defenses? Where is this mighty fleet they threatened us with? His officers checked their instruments again and again. The results were always the same. Nothing, Commander. No ships, no weapons platforms, no orbital defenses. The solar system appears to be completely unguarded. Tarek let out a breath he did not know he was holding. The humans had been bluffing after all. Their threats were empty. Their map was a fake. Admiral Kolveth had been right all along. "Set course for Earth," Tarek ordered. "Full speed ahead. Let us finish this mission and go home." The fleet moved forward. They passed Neptune without incident. They passed Uranus without seeing a single enemy vessel. They passed Saturn, and still, the darkness remained empty. Some of the younger officers began to relax. They laughed about the human threats. They talked about how they would divide up the spoils of conquest. They had nothing to fear from a primitive species that could not even defend its own system. But the older officers stayed quiet. Something felt wrong. The silence was too deep. The emptiness was too complete. Where were the humans? On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, a junior officer suddenly gasped. "Commander, I am detecting energy signatures. Multiple signatures. They are appearing all around us." Tarek spun to face the main screen. His 4 eyes went wide. All around the fleet, across every moon of Saturn, lights were turning on. Not a few lights, thousands of lights, tens of thousands of lights. They blazed to life like stars being born, and with them came sensor readings that made Tarek's blood run cold. Weapons. Massive weapons hidden beneath the surface of every moon. Missiles in silos that stretched down for kilometers. Energy cannons that could punch through any shield. And ships rising from underground hangars, ships that should not exist, ships that the Council had never seen before. "Impossible," Tarek breathed. "This is impossible." On the moon of Titan, Captain Hana watched her screens with cold satisfaction. She had waited for this day for 20 years. Every soldier in the Human Defense Force had waited for this day. They had trained in secret. They had built their weapons in silence. They had prepared for the moment when the galaxy would finally come for Earth. That moment was here. "All stations report ready," her second officer announced. Lieutenant Suho was young, but his eyes were hard. He had been born on a hidden base beneath the ice of Europa. He had never seen Earth's sky, but he would fight for it with his last breath. "Signal the fleet," Hana ordered. "Wait for my command. No one fires until I give the word." Across the solar system, hundreds of captains received her orders. They held their positions. They kept their fingers ready. They watched the Council fleet drift deeper and deeper into the trap. Back on the Eternal Conquest, Tarek was screaming orders. "Raise shields, power weapons, form defensive formation." But his fleet was in chaos. Ships crashed into each other as they tried to turn. Officers shouted conflicting commands. No one had expected this. No one had prepared for a fight. A voice crackled through every speaker in the fleet. It was the same voice from the earlier transmission. The voice of Earth Command. "Attention, harvesting fleet. You have entered our solar system with hostile intent. You were warned. You did not listen. Now you will see what humanity has been building during 500 years of silence." More lights appeared. Jupiter's moons were waking up. Mars was waking up. Even the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter were filled with hidden bases, hidden weapons, hidden ships. The Council fleet of 200 ships was surrounded by a human fleet of over 5,000. Commander Tarek stared at the screens in horror. 500 years. For 500 years, the humans had been preparing for this exact scenario. They had watched the galaxy. They had learned its secrets. They had built an army in the shadows, and the Council had never suspected a thing. "Commander," his communications officer said. His voice was shaking. "We are receiving a direct message from the human flagship." "Put it through," Tarek said weakly. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She was middle-aged, with gray streaking her black hair and a scar running down her left cheek. Her eyes were dark and calm. "I am Captain Hana of the Human Defense Force," she said. "You are Commander Tarek. I have studied your career. You are not a cruel being. You have shown mercy to conquered peoples before. That is why I am giving you one last chance." Tarek found his voice. "What chance?" "Order your fleet to power down weapons and surrender. Your crews will be taken prisoner and treated fairly. Your ships will be captured, but not destroyed. You will all eventually be returned to your homes." Tarek almost laughed. Surrender? With 200 warships under his command? The Council would never forgive such shame. But then he looked at his screens again. He looked at the thousands of human ships surrounding him. He looked at the weapons platforms on every moon. He looked at the energy readings that suggested things hidden even deeper. Things he could not see. Things he did not want to imagine. "And if we refuse?" he asked. Captain Hana did not smile. Her face showed no emotion at all. "Then in exactly 1 hour, your fleet will be destroyed. Every ship, every soldier, every officer. We will leave no survivors. And then we will send recordings of the battle to every world in the Galactic Council. We will show them what happens when you attack Earth." She leaned forward slightly. "You have 1 hour, Commander. Use it wisely." The screen went dark. Tarek stood frozen on his bridge. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. The fate of 200 ships and millions of crew members rested on his shoulders. He opened a channel to Admiral Kolveth. "Admiral, the situation has changed. The humans have us surrounded. Their forces outnumber us 20 to 1. Perhaps more. I am requesting permission to negotiate a surrender." Kolveth's response was immediate and furious. "Surrender? To primitives? Never. Attack them. Show them the power of the Galactic Council. Admiral, we cannot win this battle. Their fleet is attack." "That is an order, Commander. Attack, or I will have you executed for cowardice." The channel closed. Tarek closed his 4 eyes. He thought about his home. He thought about his family. He thought about all the young officers on his ships who had never wanted this mission. Then he made a decision. He opened a channel to his entire fleet. "All ships, this is Commander Tarek. Power down weapons. Lower shields. Do not fire unless fired upon. We are surrendering to the human forces." His bridge erupted in chaos. Some officers screamed in protest. Others looked relieved. One officer tried to draw a weapon, but security stopped him immediately. Tarek ignored them all. He opened a channel to the human flagship. "Captain Hana, this is Commander Tarek. I am ordering my fleet to stand down. We surrender." There was a pause. Then Captain Hana's face appeared again. This time, there was something that might have been respect in her eyes. "A wise choice, Commander. Keep your ships in place. Human vessels will approach to take control. Any ship that resists will be destroyed. But those who cooperate will be treated with honor." "Understood," Tarek said. "And Captain, what will happen now? To the Council? To the galaxy?" Hana's expression hardened. "Now, Commander, Earth finally speaks, and everything changes." On planets across the galaxy, alarms were beginning to sound. Hidden human ships were appearing everywhere. Weapons, platforms were activating around council stations. Communications were being jammed. For 500 years, Earth had stayed silent. That silence was over. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives screamed at each other. Lights flickered as communications failed. Security forces rushed through the corridors, trying to understand what was happening. Admiral Kolveth stood at the main platform, shouting orders that no one obeyed. His 4 eyes were wild with anger and fear. Everything was falling apart. Everything he had built over 300 years was crumbling in hours. "Someone tell me what is happening," he roared. "Where are our fleets? Why are our communications down?" A Vorian officer stumbled onto the platform. His face was pale gray, almost white. He was shaking so badly he could barely stand. "Admiral," he gasped. "The harvesting fleet has surrendered." Commander Tarek gave the order. 200 ships, taken without a single shot, fired. Kolveth grabbed the officer by his uniform. "Surrendered? Tarek will be executed for this. We will send another fleet. We will..." "Sir, there is more." Human ships have appeared throughout Council territory. Hundreds of ships. Maybe thousands. They came out of nowhere. They are surrounding our military bases. They are blocking our trade routes. They are everywhere. Kolveth released the officer and staggered backward. This could not be real. This had to be a nightmare. The humans were primitives. They had no fleet. They had no technology. They were nothing, but the evidence was undeniable. On the main screen, reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Human ships over Voria Prime. Human ships around the Melian homeworld. Human ships in every strategic location that the Council had ever fortified. The positions matched the red dots from the earlier transmission perfectly. It was all real. Every threat, every warning, all of it was real. Admiral, a new voice cut through the chaos. It was calm and cold and familiar. Kolveth turned. Standing at the entrance to the Great Hall was Una, the human representative. She walked forward slowly, just as she had done days ago when she tried to warn them. But this time, something was different. Behind her walked two human soldiers in black armor. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. Their faces were hidden behind dark helmets. They moved like shadows, silent and deadly. "What is the meaning of this?" Kolveth demanded. "You cannot bring weapons into the council hall. This is sacred ground." Una stopped in front of him. She was small. She looked fragile. But her eyes held a power that made Kolveth want to step backward. "The Galactic Council decided to attack Earth," she said. "That decision ended any protection this hall might have offered. You declared war on humanity. Now humanity is responding." "This is an invasion," a Drekken representative shouted. "We will fight. We will crush you." Una turned to face the Drekkan. "Fleet Commander Biol, please show our guests what has happened to the Drekkan Third Army." One of the soldiers touched a device on his wrist. The main screen changed to show a recording. It was the Drekkan Third Army, 50 of their most powerful warships, surrounding what appeared to be a small human vessel. Then the human vessel moved. It spun and danced through the Drekken formation like water flowing around stones. Blue light flashed from its weapons. One by one, the Drekken ships went dark. Not destroyed, but disabled. Their systems shut down. Their crews floated helplessly in dead ships. The whole battle took less than 3 minutes. The Drekken representative sat down heavily. His scales had turned pale. "That was one ship," Una said quietly. "One ship against 50. And we have thousands of ships spread across the galaxy." Admiral Kolveth's voice was barely a whisper. "How? How is this possible? You were primitive. You fought among yourselves. You had no fleet." Una smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We wanted you to think that. Every war we fought was real. Every problem on our world was real. But they were also useful. They taught us how to fight, how to survive, how to think in ways you could never imagine." She began to walk slowly around the platform, speaking to all the representatives. "You looked at Earth and saw chaos. We looked at your galaxy and saw order. Boring, predictable order. You follow the same patterns. You use the same tactics. You think the same thoughts. That made you easy to study, easy to understand, easy to defeat." A Melian representative raised his hand. Unlike the others, he did not look angry. He looked curious. "You have been preparing for this for 500 years. Why? We never threatened you before." "Because you would?" Una answered. "Sooner or later, you would. Every empire expands until it meets resistance. Every powerful nation eventually sees a weaker one as a target. It was only a matter of time before the Council decided Earth was worth taking." She stopped and faced Admiral Kolveth directly. "We gave you every chance, every warning. I stood in this very hall and told you what would happen. You laughed. You mocked me. You voted to harvest my world like it was nothing but a field of crops." Kolveth's voice cracked. "What do you want? If you have won, just tell us what you want." The doors to the Great Hall opened again. More humans entered. But these were not soldiers. They were diplomats, scientists, leaders, men and women of all ages, walking with the confidence of people who had waited a very long time for this moment. At their head was an old woman with white hair and kind eyes. She walked slowly, using a cane, but there was strength in every step. "I am President Unji of the United Human Coalition," she said. Her voice was gentle but carried across the entire hall. "I am here to discuss the future. Kolveth stared at her. The future? You expected us to destroy you, President Yunji said. To burn your worlds as you planned to burn ours. That is what you would have done in our position. But we are not you, she gestured, and the main screen changed again. It showed human ships, not attacking, but helping. Delivering supplies to a damaged station. Rescuing crews from disabled vessels. Treating wounded soldiers from the harvesting fleet. We have no interest in ruling the galaxy. President Unji continued. We have no interest in revenge. Beyond what is necessary to ensure our safety. What we want is much simpler. She looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of every representative. We want respect. We want a seat at the table where decisions are made. We want the galaxy to understand that Earth is not a resource to be harvested. We are a people. A civilization, and we will not be ignored any longer. Admiral Kolveth fell to his knees. His legs could no longer hold him. You could destroy us all. You could rule the galaxy. Why would you offer peace? President Unji walked toward him slowly. Despite his tall form, kneeling brought him almost to her level. She looked at him with something that might have been pity. Because power without wisdom is meaningless, she said. We spent 500 years watching you. Learning from your mistakes. We saw what happens to empires that rule through fear. They always fall. They always burn. We have no wish to become what we fought against. She offered her hand to help him stand. The Galactic Council tried to destroy us. We could destroy the Galactic Council. Instead, we choose to build something new. Something better. The only question is whether you will help us build it, or whether you will be remembered as the beings who chose hatred over hope. Kolveth looked at her hand for a long moment. The hall was silent. Every representative held their breath. Then, slowly, Admiral Kolveth took her hand and stood. What would you have us do? He asked. President Yunji smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm and genuine. First, we talk. Then, we listen. Then, together, we decide what the future should look like. That is how civilizations should work. Not through conquest. Through cooperation. Across the galaxy, human ships stood ready. Weapons were powered. Soldiers waited for orders. But those orders never came. Instead, something else began. Something that had not happened in the galaxy for thousands of years. Peace. 1 year had passed since the day the galaxy changed. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked different now. The old symbols of power had been removed. New banners hung from the ceiling, showing the flags of every member world, plus one more. A blue and green globe that had once been ignored. Earth had taken its place among the stars. Yuna walked through the hall with a smile on her face. She was no longer the ignored representative who sat in the corner. She was now the human ambassador. Respected and feared in equal measure. Other diplomats nodded to her as she passed. Some even bowed. She still found it strange. For 20 years, no one had listened to her. Now, everyone wanted to hear what she had to say. The hall was preparing for a ceremony. Today was the anniversary of what the galaxy now called the Awakening. The day when humanity revealed itself to the universe. Representatives from every world had gathered to celebrate. At the main platform, President Unji was speaking with Admiral Kolveth. The old Vorian looked different now. He was still tall and proud. But the arrogance was gone from his eyes. He had spent the past year learning about humanity, studying their history, trying to understand how he had misjudged them so completely. I still do not fully understand, Kolveth said. You had the power to rule the galaxy. You chose peace instead. In all my centuries of life, I have never seen such a thing. President Yunji laughed softly. That is because you have never met humans before, Admiral. We are full of contradictions. We can be cruel, yes. Violent. Selfish. But we can also be kind, generous, forgiving. The same species that creates weapons of destruction also creates art and music and poetry. It seems wasteful, Kolveth admitted. All that energy spent on things that serve no practical purpose. Perhaps. Or perhaps those things are the most practical of all. They remind us who we are. They connect us to each other. They give us reasons to keep going when everything seems hopeless. Yuna joined them at the platform. The ceremony will begin soon. The other ambassadors are taking their positions. Thank you, Yuna, President Unji said. She turned back to Kolveth. Admiral, would you do me the honor of standing with me during the ceremony? It would send a powerful message to the galaxy. Kolveth hesitated. I was your enemy. I tried to destroy your world. Why would you want me beside you? Because you are not my enemy now. You made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But you admitted it. You worked to make things right. That takes courage. That deserves recognition. Kolveth was silent for a long moment. Then he bowed his head. It would be my honor, President Unji. The ceremony began as the lights in the hall dimmed. A hush fell over the crowd. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds watched as President Unji stepped forward to speak. 1 year ago, the Galactic Council made a decision that could have destroyed us all, she said. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the hall. They sent a fleet to harvest Earth, to take our resources, to remove our people from the planet we had called home for millions of years. Images appeared on the screens around the hall. The harvesting fleet. The hidden bases awakening. The human ships appearing across the galaxy. Earth responded. Not with the destruction we could have unleashed, but with strength tempered by mercy. We stopped the fleet without killing a single being. We surrounded your worlds without firing a shot. We showed the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated. But we also showed that we are not to be feared. The images changed. They showed humans and aliens working together. Building stations. Trading goods. Learning from each other. The galaxy had changed in ways that would have seemed impossible just 1 year ago. In the past year, we have accomplished more together than any of us could have accomplished alone. We have shared technology and knowledge. We have ended conflicts that had lasted for centuries. We have begun to build something new, not an empire, not a council where the strong rule the weak, but a true alliance. A partnership of equals. President Unji smiled. It was the smile of someone who had seen the worst of the universe and chosen to believe in its best. Earth stayed silent for 500 years. We watched. We learned. We prepared. And when the time came, we spoke with one voice. A voice that said, "We are here. We are strong. And we choose peace." She gestured to the beings gathered in the hall. Today, we celebrate not just the anniversary of the awakening. We celebrate a new beginning. A future where no species is harvested. Where no world is conquered. Where the strong protect the weak instead of preying upon them. The crowd erupted in applause. Humans and aliens alike cheered together. The sound echoed through the hall and out into the stars. After the ceremony, Yuna found herself on a balcony overlooking the capital city of Thessar. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. It reminded her of Earth sunsets. Though the colors were slightly different, Captain Hana joined her. The legendary commander had retired from military service after the awakening. She said she had spent enough time preparing for war. Now she wanted to learn how to live in peace. It is strange, is it not? Hana said. A year ago, I was ready to destroy 200 ships and everyone on them. Now I am attending diplomatic ceremonies and wearing formal clothes. Yuna laughed. I know the feeling. I spent 20 years being ignored. Now I cannot walk 10 meters without someone asking for my opinion. Do you miss it? The silence? Yuna thought about the question. She thought about those long years of waiting, the frustration, the loneliness, the constant feeling that she was shouting into a void. No, she said finally. I do not miss it. But I understand now why it was necessary. We needed that time. To prepare. To grow. To become something that could stand alongside the great powers of the galaxy. And now? Now we must learn something even harder. We learned how to fight in silence. We learned how to build weapons in secret. Now we must learn how to trust, how to open ourselves to others, how to be part of something larger than ourselves. Hana nodded slowly. That is harder. Fighting is simple. You have an enemy. You defeat them. But building alliances, making friends of former enemies, that requires a different kind of strength. A strength we have, Yuna said firmly. I believe that. I have always believed that. Below them, the city was coming alive with lights. Beings of every species walked the streets together. Human children played with Melian children. Vorian merchants traded with Drekan craftsmen. The galaxy was healing. Commander Do-hyun appeared on the balcony. He was no longer stationed at a listening post. He had been promoted to lead Earth's diplomatic security force. Ambassador Yuna, he said. President Unji would like to see you. There is news from Earth. What kind of news? Do-hyun smiled. It was a rare expression for him. Good news. The first alien ships have been invited to visit Earth. Ambassadors from 12 worlds will see our planet for the first time. The president wants you to help plan the welcome. Yuna felt her heart lift. For 500 years, Earth had kept itself hidden. Now the galaxy would finally see what they had been protecting. The blue oceans, the green forests, the cities and mountains and deserts and ice, the beautiful, fragile world that had given birth to humanity. Tell her I will be there shortly, Yuna said. Do-hyun nodded and left. Yuna turned back to look at the sunset one more time. Earth stayed silent for 500 years, she said softly. But our silence was never empty. It was full of hope, full of dreams, full of the belief that someday, somehow, we would take our place among the stars. She smiled. That day has come. And this is only the beginning. The sun set on Thessar, but across the galaxy, a new dawn was rising. The dawn of an age where Earth and its people would help shape the future of the universe. The age of silence was over. The age of humanity had begun.